Hello, welcome
Hello,
back.
hello.
Welcome back to the second Age Domain Tuesday.
I feel like we're pros now, streaming pros.
I know, full stream. I know. Yeah. Well, we got some support from Brian. You know, we got this.
Cheers, Ryan.
So, yeah, like, how's things going with you? You just been on holiday, right?
I have been on an amazing holiday. I went to Iceland. So I was closer than I thought. Literally got on the plane and it's 2 hours, 20 minutes. And then it was like trip of a lifetime, proper ticking off the things from the bucket list. It's probably the two coolest things were snorkeling between the North American and European tectonic plates. And at one point, you can literally like hold your hands out and touch both of them at the same time, which is really, really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the other one was the Northern Lights. It was literally the last night. We waited up until stupid o'clock on the first two nights trying to get a glimpse and nothing. And then just randomly happened to go out of the room to have a look outside at one point, and they were there. And I just got really excited. I was like, quick, come and have a look. And then they were gone 5 minutes later. So yeah, really lucky to see those.
Yeah, that must have been amazing. Yeah, snorkeling between the tectonic plates. Yeah, it's not something you say people do every day, is it? So.
And the weird thing about it was because he was snorkeling in like fresh. It wasn't seawater. You could literally drink the water because it had been filtered through the volcanic rocks. So as you were snorkeling, if anyone in your mask or in your mouth or whatever, it's salt water, like in your sea and you're snorkeling, usually you're struggling to get your mask off and stuff. This was just, you could just drink it down, like no problem. And if you were thirsty halfway through, just take a little sip, drink it down. It was great.
That'd be awesome, yeah. No water shortage there, that's for sure. Awesome. Okay. So I guess on to like what we're going to chat about today. I think we realized that we covered a lot of this stuff off last week, but I guess we're going to formally do it this time. So last week, if you missed the show, we discussed one of the domains in our inventory, an esports domain, and we went through, in some detail about how we review that domain. Went through our due diligence process, essentially, which is what we're going to cover today. But I guess we're going to cover it just kind of more broadly. We were very specific about the domain there. So we'll chat about some of the things we think about in terms of due diligence specifically. And then we will go on to another domain from our inventory, which is a domain about birds. So lots of opportunity for informational content. So we'll come on to that shortly too. So
just on that one as well, Mark, some of the comments we had last week were us doing the due diligence of the domain was awesome, even though we talked about it and then we did the example, like actually so we'll talk about it broadly, but then going through and showing an example, I think is putting that theory that we talk about first into practice on a real domain then.
Yeah. So we can do that on the bird domain a little somewhat, yeah. Probably don't want to go into the same detail every week, I guess, but like because it's going to be repetitive. But yeah, to pick up some of the key points, I think it's definitely worth it. So awesome.
Well, before we start, we just say as well, if you've got any questions, don't hold off until the end. Like put them in the chat as we go, and then we can answer them at the end. Because it's awkward at the end when we say anybody got any questions, then we have to wait like for people to put their questions. So if you have any questions or you think of things as we go through, then feel free to put them in the chat. We'll come to them a little bit later on.
Yeah, and we'll try and just pick them up as we go as well, if it's kind of relevant. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. Any questions, any burning questions, just stick them in the chat and we'll get around to them for sure. Also a reminder to like the video and subscribe if you can. Tell your friends, and if we get enough,
I was going to say we're going to do our giveaway this week. Yeah,
if we get enough likes on the show, then we will have a giveaway. I need to like bring up the channel. I think I'm going to try and hopefully I can work out how to check that we've got that we've actually how to pull people into the wheel of names. But I was chatting to Alex from WP Eagle, and he tells me that you have to have chatted in the chat or chatted in the chat recently to get picked up in YouTube as like currently active, essentially. So I will ask everybody to, before we do the draw, we'll ask everybody to, a few minutes before, we'll ask everybody to type something in the chat window, and hopefully we can pick everybody up then for the draw. Okay, otherwise I'll be doing it manually again.
Do we want to answer this question first? It's just come in because I think it's
Yep.
it's quite a decent one. So, yeah, great question. The answer is any domain that's been used in the past, and typically when we use them or when you look to use them and buy them and repurpose them, as long as it's got a good backlink profile, then that's one of the primary reasons that we buy age domain. So, yeah, if it's been used in the past, even if the website is still live or whatever, then you can call it an age domain or whatever you want. Lots of the due diligence that we'll talk about here, you should probably do on like live websites as well. If you're thinking about as part of your due diligence of buying another website, even if it's not for an age domain. So, yeah, I think the answer to that, I don't know your name, Invest in Facts, is yes. It is still known as an age domain.
It's Mr. Facts.
Mr. Facts. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Excellent. So let's jump in then. So number one we've got on the list is trademarks. So I guess this one's pretty important, right? So you want to make sure that the domain that you pick up, or the domain you're bidding on at auction or buying from anywhere hasn't got a trademark associated with it. So we mentioned in our last we'll probably go through that, right? We can have a look at that when we go through the due diligence for the birds, but I can't remember exactly the name of the site.
We've got two examples, because we've got the bird example we're going to do, and then we've got someone asked us to review a domain live later, which has trademark issues. So we'll show both a good example and a bad example in a bit.
Awesome. So yeah, so we'll so there's yes, and I think as we mentioned previously, is that there are places where you can go check for trademarks, but if it's a very common word or a common name, you'll end up with a big list, and it's quite hard to decipher whether there's a trademark on there at times as well. And of course, it's kind of in legal speak as well. So you'll get some that seem kind of like they're obvious, and some that are not. But we kind of don't take too many risks on that. Like if it's got a trademark associated with it, then we'll get we'll seek some legal counsel, or we will just kind of completely avoid it altogether. Just don't take the risk. So I think you can search these databases, and if nothing comes up, you can feel reasonably confident that you're pretty safe. But if stuff starts coming up, then you probably want to just go and ask somebody. And what I will say is about our domains is that we already do this for you, so you don't have to worry about that part. This is part of our due diligence process for the domains that we sell on our site. But if you're picking up yourself, then that's something you'd want to check for sure. Anything else to add on that?
No, that's a good coverage of it, I think. Good job.
Cool. Okay, you go for site history then.
Yeah, so this one is kind of self-explanatory. Like I'm going to use Wayback or archive.org to check what the website used to be about. When we are looking for age domains, it's literally the first thing that we look at. We look at what did the site used to be about, and more importantly, do we think it's in a niche that we can go and create another website about, because relevancy is key, which we'll come on to in a bit. But essentially, it's just looking at the website in Wayback, going through like lots of the captions, not just taking having a look at 2 or 3 and thinking it looks good, because there are plenty of examples out there where the site looks great for like years, and then for 6 months of its entire life, it might be live for 10 years, but for 6 months it had been used as spam or as a PBN, or had been redirected to like gambling or a porn site, and you just want to avoid that. So meticulously looking through lots of the wayback snapshots, couple per year, just to make sure that you catch anything dodgy that's going on.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. I think that's fair. So yeah, you just want to make sure that it's got a credible and authentic kind of background, I guess, and something that makes sense. So, cool. And I guess, did you mention relevancy in that? I suppose we could come into that in a little bit. But
yeah, I think we've got that bit further on, haven't we? Yeah, we've got topical relevancy a bit further on.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually. So anchor text. So with this one, you just want to make sure that the anchor text kind of makes sense. So if a site is genuine and authentic and exists on the web and naturally requires backlink. Oh, well, this is anchor text, right? So I always start talking about backlinks here, but yeah, anchor text. You just want to make sure that it sounds or it looks reasonable. You don't want to make sure that there's not too many exact match anchors in there that look like you've actively done link building essentially, and and put in exact match anchors like all over the place. So if you've got lots of exact match anchors, then that might be something to look at. And I mean, getting up into the tens or the hundreds, if you've got like lots of exact match there, you want to avoid that. But also, you want to. We tend to use Ahrefs for this, but you want to go through all of the pages also of all of the different anchor text to make sure there's no kind of words in there that you want to avoid. So any porn related words, any casino, gambling, payday loans, all of that kind of stuff. You just want to make sure you avoid any of that stuff in there, because obviously once you've got that in there, then the site has probably been used for purposes which was not its original purpose, and you just want to avoid that. We also tend to avoid any sites that have kind of foreign characters in there, like Chinese or Japanese characters, because again, that's probably can't necessarily read it, but it means obviously that site has changed hands at some point, or it's just stuff that you want to avoid. You don't want to have lots of foreign characters in there, unless of course you're looking to build a Chinese or Japanese site, then that might be something different. but yeah.
Just to add to that, on like typically what a healthy anchor text profile will look like, it will be very brand, like the main anchor text will be branded. So that's maybe just the site name or the URL, or it's branded. That's what looks natural. And the other thing to mention as well is sometimes even if you look through way back, like very diligently, and you don't see anything, sometimes the anchor text can be a bit of a giveaway, because you'll see like not great anchor text in there. And that's clearly been used for spam, but you haven't picked it up on Wayback, either because it was used for such a short period of time that Wayback didn't take a snapshot during the time it was used. But it's a great like sniff test and another quick check you can look at to see, has this site been abused, quite quickly if you miss it in Wayback.
Yeah. Sure, I missed the most important point there, which is the branded anchors. I think I was going down that route before I got myself confused. But yeah, branded anchors. Yeah,
you're almost there. Yeah,
and yeah. Any site that's credible and natural on the web should have branded anchors. It's number one, for sure. Okay, backlink profile. Should we go for this one?
Yeah, sure. So this one, I think backlink profile can be split into two. So you can split backlink profile into like high domain but not super relevant, i.e. things like The Guardian, or does it have links from Wikipedia, or where they're very high authority type websites, typically editorial, New York Times, Insider, Entrepreneur.com, or really high authority websites, but typically not niche relevant. I think we'll see a couple in the example that we look at in a bit, where I think it's got a link from The Guardian, which is a news website. It's nothing to do with birds, but it's really high authority. And then the other branch of backlinks that you want to look at are niche relevant ones. So do you have, in this case, lots of domains linking to the website that talk about birds? Are there lots of birds websites or animal websites linking back? Ideally, you'd like a crossover of both. You'd like a crossover of the high authority, like editorial type links, and niche relevant ones. And then the winning ticket really is that, plus the niche relevant ones are really high DR as well. Like if you can get that kind of golden combo there of those three different things, then I think you're onto a winner. Yeah,
for sure. If you can get all of those, that you can't always get those all of the time, but if you can, then that's looking good. But yeah, awesome. So historical traffic. I mean, this one is, I guess this one's more about, if it's got some good, this isn't absolutely essential, but if it's got some good historical traffic, then you can be pretty confident that Google liked this site, liked this domain at some point in its past. I can't remember what this statistic is, but there's a statistic which is there's only so much of the web that gets Google's attention, that gets Google's traffic, and it's a crazy number, isn't it? Right? Because the number of websites that are kind of dormant out there, but like it's something like only 3% of websites actually get traffic from Google. So if it's getting you traffic, then you're in the elite status there. You're kind of in a point where Google must have liked that site at some point in time. So the higher the traffic over time is, the better. The more credibility that domain had, the more standing that domain had in Google. So if you can find a domain that's had very high or decent traffic levels in the past, then that gives good confidence that it will be well regarded going forward as well. So that's historical traffic. That's one of the best things to look out for. So anything else about that, Adam?
Yeah, the other thing to add to that is sometimes you have to play detective a little bit as well. So in the example we're going to look at the bird one in a second, the traffic dropped off slightly towards the end and then came back a little bit before it was then like the domain was dropped. And you have to kind of like, well, why was that? Was it penalized? Did something happen? And in this case, we'll have a look in way back. The site was essentially redesigned during the time that the traffic dropped off and clearly didn't do a good job. But you can use the traffic profile to give you to try and help you understand a little bit more about the history of the website. Was it redirected somewhere? Did the traffic drop off a cliff because it was 301 redirected? Did it drop off because something dodgy happened, or in this case, did it drop off slightly and then come back because of a site redesign and it never quite recovered to where it was? So yeah, just it's good for pulling out clues about potentially what's happened to the site in the past as well.
Awesome. Hi, Mark from Facebook user here. So I don't know who it is, but hi. What you can actually do is, if you want your name to appear from Facebook, I'll put it to the chat now. If you go to this page here, it will allow you to basically authorize our streaming tool to use your name instead of Facebook user. So you can do that, and then we'll know who you are when you comment, if you're commenting from Facebook. Awesome. Okay, what's the next one? Topical relevance. Do it, Adam.
Yeah. This one is more so about what you're going to do with the domain. So it comes back to when we said the first thing we do is look in way back to see what the website used to be about. It needs to be closely aligned to what you're going to use the domain for, or if you're going to use it as a 301 redirect, what you're going to redirect into. There's no point building a website about dogs on a domain that used to be about cars. Like, it's just, there's no relevance there. People do this. We do see it. I don't know if it's a famous, it always sticks in my mind example of a website for sale on Motion Invest that was built on a domain that used to be about sharks, but it was all about popcorn. Like, I don't know how they link those two together. And sometimes they do take off quite quickly and they do get a spike in traffic, but it's just a ticking time bomb. It's just a matter of time until Google figures out that site about popcorn is literally nothing to do with sharks and the backlink profile and the anchor text and all those other small little nuances and signals, and then the traffic will drop off a cliff. There's other examples where people have built sites on like restaurant type domains, and it's nothing to do with food or anything. Like, even on a loose connection, it's nothing to do with food. It might be like I think another example was an exercise type website built on an expired restaurant domain, and again took off quite quickly and then dropped off a cliff just as quick as well. So always make sure that whatever you're building or whatever you're using it for is related and relevant to its past, essentially.
Yeah, I think like the restaurant domain example is one that's an easy mistake, because it's food, right? It is food. Like, restaurants serve food, but Google will see it more as a local business rather than a food site. Yeah, I guess is kind of the problem. So
it depends on that one as well. I think it depends on like if it's literally just local business, that's it. But I see more and more restaurants now talking about like where the food comes from in their blog section and how it's reasonably sourced, or they've got news coverage, sometimes national news coverage, because they are doing XYZ funky stuff with food. That I think is fine, because it's not just about it's not just about the menu and the opening times. But you're right, lots and lots of restaurant domains probably don't make good good domains to build a food website on, because it's nothing about food. It's more about a local business.
Yeah. No, you're wasting that backlink profile basically as well, because anything that is not relevant to the new stuff that you're putting on, it's just it's you're trying to rank stuff about pets, having links from a golf or restaurant site is just not going to help that. When you're trying to get backlinks, you're trying to get them from niche relevance sites.
Yeah.
If you're just starting a whole new niche and all the backlinks related to something else, then you can expect it to tank after a while. So, okay, metrics. So the metrics one, I guess this is more. We use industry metrics like DR, trust flow, citation flow, domain authority, and we kind of check out all of those kind of metrics to see how a domain looks from that perspective. I think there's kind of things that you need to just look out for, like you need to look at maybe the DR and the number of referring domains, and like, does that kind of make sense? And I guess that's kind of only through experience you kind of work out that makes sense. Yes. But if it's got only thousands of referring domains and it's only like a DR12 or something like that, then that's probably something you need to look into, and that's probably not very good quality like backlinks there, or it's just been spammed or whatever. So we take the metrics with somewhat of a pinch of salt, but there are different things that we kind of look into. For example, like trust flow is one that can be really good to look at. It can give you a really good indication of the quality of the backlinks, but it generally works best at the top end. So if you see a trust flow of 50 or 40, even 40 is really high for trust flow. You don't see many that are above 40. Then you can be reasonably confident that backlink profile is pretty good, and that should be pretty evident pretty quickly when you go and look at the backlink profile, that you'll see a whole bunch of very good authority sites blinking back. If you're at the bottom end of that scale, though, it can be a little bit more sketchy if you've only got a few backlinks or whatever. So we do look at sites that are above 5. Not anything below 5, trust flow 5, we probably just need to look at. But some that are like even 6 to 10, it's just because there isn't the volume there of backlinks to kind of get the trust flow higher. It doesn't mean the links are bad, like that have got is bad. So you just kind of need to kind of go and check at that point. But that's kind of trust flow is kind of a good one for working out the quality there, I think, of the backlinks. But we kind of take a look at all of them and just try and sense check. Do they make sense? Do they add up? From what we know about the domain and its history, does this make sense? I guess the other thing to watch out for is if you see the domain ratings pretty high, and not even it's pretty high, but it's been ramped up really quick. So that might, it is quite easy to gain DR and make it give you a false number. People will do that as well if they're trying to sell the age domain to try and get a better price for it. But if you see a DR that ramps up really quick, too quick, within a few months, then that's probably something to look into. It's possible that it's genuine. It's possible that there's a 301 redirect or two into there, which means that it got a whole load more backlinks and a higher domain rating quite quickly. But again, it's just something you just want to check that was real and viable and makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing is just not to follow like the metrics blindly. Like the bad example that we're going to look at later on that someone asked us to review on the live stream as one of the highest trust flows I've seen is like things like 54 or 55 trust flow, like high 30s DR, I think it is. But we'll see that some of the other things we talked about has got issues. So don't just automatically assume that if it's got really good third-party metrics, that it's going to be a good site to build on.
Yeah, sure. Got a question from a Facebook user again. Is it just restaurants or businesses that should be avoided? Is it just restaurants or business? Yeah, I get that question.
Yeah. I don't think it's just restaurants or businesses. I think you have to use common sense. Ideally, you want it to be as relevant as possible. So if it's if it's a charity about birds, for example, I'm using birds because we're looking at the birds website later. Did that website have lots of content around the birds that it was trying to save? Was it bird related, or was it more about raising money? That kind of thing. You've just got to try and, it's not black and white, I don't think. every website's going to be slightly different. Some will fall in the middle, some will be clearly all about the birds, and some will clearly be all about raising money, and some will be in the middle. So you just have to use a bit of common sense. So it's not just restaurants or businesses, it's all sites through your kind of common sense filter.
Yeah, and I think the other one that we see quite a lot is like golf sites. So that maybe sites, the domains that have been golf courses in the past, that clearly is a local business, but from the results that we've seen, they tend to do reasonably well. And I think that again, that is because they're going to get a lot of relevant backlinks from golf sites, right? Like that probably, what are listing like the courses that are available in Berkshire or wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
So you probably got lots of niche relevant backlinks, kind of if you're a golf course. But that's kind of one exception, I guess, if it's a business. And this, like you say, I think you just got to take each individual and see if it makes sense. So we've got last one, which is a bonus. It's not really a due diligence thing, but it's something to think about when you're acquiring an age domain, something to look at, which can be a value add. Do you want to go into this one, Adam?
Yeah. So this one, I mean, it's kind of a gray area. We don't offer this. We don't do this for clients, but we can tell you the process if you wanted to do it. And it's essentially when you're looking at lots of these old age domains, lots of them at some point would have had a social media presence, be that Pinterest or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, whatever they've had a presence on. Now, typically, if they've abandoned the website, they've let the domain expire, or the business, it's gone out, the website's gone out of business or whatever. Typically, they just stop updating these social media profiles like at the same time. It's not like they think, oh, we'll leave the website go, we'll carry on with the Pinterest account or whatever. So usually they're just sitting there dormant. Nobody's posting on them. Nobody's doing anything with them. Now, some accounts are a lot easier to reclaim than others. Like, for example, with a Facebook page, if you wanted to reclaim a Facebook page, it's almost impossible because you have to have the admin of that page invite you as an admin, have to friend request you and then add you as an admin. But other things like Pinterest or Instagram or Twitter, typically you can try and reset the passwords. So, and if they've set up the account with an email address that's associated with a domain, so if I own adam.com, if I'd set it up as admin@adam.com and I'd set the Pinterest with that, what you can do is once you've got the domain is to set up what's called a catch-all email address. So anything that goes to @adam.com, like whatever precedes the part, will all come into this one inbox. And you can basically set up that catch-all and then go and try and reset the passwords. And if they've set them up with admin@adam.com, you get a password reset link into your catch-all inbox, and you can go and reset the password, and then the account is yours. But like I say, it's a gray area because who owns that account? Is it the person that set it up? Is it the business that's no longer there? Would they be upset if you took it? Can they do anything about it? I don't know is the honest answer. And when this is definitely not legal advice, but there are plenty of expired domains and age domains out there that have big accounts. We've got a customer that took over a Pinterest account recently, has almost 10,000 followers, and now he's posting on there quite regular, it looks like, and quite often. But it's a massive head start. Like, how long would it take you to get to 10,000 Pinterest followers from fresh? Whereas he's starting from there. So yeah, that's the bonus, I guess. If you've got the aptitude to take these social media accounts, and they can be taken as well, by using that method if they've set up the accounts with those email addresses.
Yeah, and you've done that. You did that with. Oh no, you bought a site with a YouTube channel, didn't you? You didn't do that with YouTube because you can't. But the other thing I'd mention as well is that Google My Business as well. You can pick those up too. So I've done that before, where I've picked up a site on an age domain, and you essentially change the address. Say it's a change of address for the business. Changed it to a new address. Pick up the postcard, and then you can kind of reactivate like the Google My Business profile, because it was actually a closed business, the one that I had. So I kind of reopened it, and the reason you'd want to do that, it just kind of gives you a little bit more credibility in the eyes of Google. If you've got a real, it's a genuine business that's got a Google My Business profile, then you're just going to be seen in more favorable light. the Google, less likely to get hit by stuff probably, and yeah, potentially more likely to rank for stuff as well. Just a little bit more credibility. Similarly to like setting up social media sites, but probably even more so. Awesome. So what I will say before we jump on to the next thing, just a reminder for everybody, 25 likes is a giveaway. You can get a t-shirt, a mug, cap in Niche Website Builders branding. So if you want that, you've got to be in it to win it. So smash the like button, and we'll do that giveaway kind of later in the show. And also, yeah, like and subscribe. Okay, so shall we move on to the domain, Adam?
Yes. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got all the tabs open. Should have all the tabs open. Where is that? Hold on.
Oh, actually, I can just bring up the graphic first. Actually, do you want to talk about it broadly? Oops.
Let me stop sharing that then. How do I stop sharing? Cool. Yeah, we're quite proud of this graphic that we had made, so we want to show it. But yeah, we're going to talk about a domain from our inventory at the moment. So European Raptors. It's about birds. And you might be thinking, oh my God, what am I going to build a site about birds on? Is there a lot of opportunity there? And we're going to show you an example of a site that's been around for just over a year. It's a DR6, so weaker than the domain that we have here. It's got about 350 pieces of content on there, but of those, like 60 pages are driving 80% of the traffic, and it's getting, according to SEMrush, 250,000 visits per month, which we know it's probably more like 500 to 750,000 visits per month. So yeah, there seems to be plenty of opportunity in the bird space, essentially.
Yeah, with that, DR6 is pretty low, right? So that's got some decent traffic with very little authority. So it's a good niche, and it's one of those good informational niches that we just love or trying to find at the moment. And of the domains that it's got, it's worth picking up. It's got some good relevant domains there, but it's got theguardian.com up top, and a load of other high authority sites in there as well. One Green Planet, and then worldbirds.com obviously is very bird related. It's a bit too small for me to see on my screen, but yeah, red and black, new glasses. Yeah, some good authority domains on there, and relevant ones like that. Cool.
Let me share my screen then, and we'll just go through it step by step, like due diligence of this domain. So can you see this now here now, Mark? Am I sharing the screen? Cool. So the first thing we would look at, and I've got all the different tabs open, but is way back. And like I said, what you would want to do is you want to go through each of these years individually, like pull out multiple screenshots, captures of each year. But in this case, I've just pulled out 4 across this time period to show like an overview of nothing much changed, basically. So like in 2010, when the site was first launched back around here, it's European Raptors Biology and Conservation. It's a website literally that talks about the different types of European raptors, from European buzzards to kites to red kites to Egyptian vultures. It's basically just it's an informational based site talking about the pledge of different birds of prey in Europe. And we skip forward 4 years and the site looks exactly the same. There's new content on here. Nothing else has changed apart from they just added new content. And skip forward another 4 years and again there's just new content. Nothing's changed, even as far as 2020. So basically in 10 years this site didn't change its design. I mean, for a site in 2020, this looks really dated and old and like not great. Which is then, I think what happened was 2021 they tried to redesign the website. Now it looks like, I'm not sure who's running the site, but this looks like a very old basic WordPress theme, and they changed it to a new basic WordPress theme that might look a little bit smarter. But interestingly, between 2020 and 2021 is, if we look at the traffic here, is where like the traffic kind of dropped off. So during that transition where they switch the design of the website, we see this drop off in traffic, and then starts to come back, and then that's where they no longer renew the domain. So that's the final drop off there. So this is what I meant earlier by kind of playing a little bit detective, like what caused this drop off here? What is this cause? And I feel like the cause is they redesigned the site and probably didn't do a good job of it, i.e. they probably didn't do a good job technically of making sure when you change, sometimes when you change a theme, like some of the URL structure can change or the category structure can change and that kind of stuff. And I just don't think they did a really good job of doing that, which caused drop off. And then Google realized, oh yeah, it's not really too bad, and started ranking again. And then they gave up on the project essentially.
Did they lose a number of referring domains on that at that time as well, Adam?
No, so referring domains have gone up. Referring to pages dropped off slightly, but the number of actual referring domains carried on going up. So no, there was no drop off there of domains either.
Okay.
So that's the first thing we look at in kind of way back, is like history of over the last 12 years, what's happened. And in this case, not a lot, apart from a redesign towards the end. And then we'd have a look at the anchor text. And this is what we talked about earlier about, the primary anchor text being branded. So European Raptors, europeanraptors.org, www. And then we've got some other ones coming in here then. So Red Kite and Eurasian Hobby. And interestingly, lots of these have these, I don't know what that's called, like speech marks around them. And you'll see when we look at the referring domains, it's because they're being referred or referenced from Wikipedia. This site has lots and lots of links from Wikipedia, and also Wikipedia copycats, it would seem. I've not really seen this before. If we have a look at this, for example, we've got Wikipedia in here, but then there's also things like PippyWiki, which basically looks like the same as a Wikipedia kind of scraper. It links in the same fashion as the way Wikipedia links as well. Like it's the same anchor text, the same kind of text, etc. So the reason lots of these have speech marks in there is because they're kind of either Wikipedia or Wikipedia scraper type sites. And if we have a look down here, there's nothing in here about kind of like porn or anything like that. There's a little bit about Spanish in here, because if you noticed at one point they launched a book in Spanish about European raptors. So that's kind of to be expected, that they would have some kind of people linking through with some Spanish in there. But even that, I think that's a name. I'm talking about illegal raptor poisoning in Spain, etc. We've gone through like these pages, and there's nothing dodgy in here or anything that looks out of place. It all looks like it should do, talking about birds or, the topic as you would expect from the website. Then we look at referring domains, and I'm just looking initially at all links. And in here, we can see we've got a ton of, like, say, Wikipedia. So English, French, from the Netherlands, Finnish, UK. Like, there's lots of different Wikipedia pieces of content that are linking back to this. And as you would expect on a website that talks specifically about different types of birds and has information about all the different species, it's a great resource for Wikipedia to link to. But we also can see in here things like The Guardian, which is what we mentioned, an example of like that high editorial type website, which is great. And then if we have a look further down, we've also got some like nature related and some bird related. So science blogs, animaldiversity.org/76. If we go to the next page, we've got Conservapedia talking about like animal conservation. There's a couple of bird ones in here, birdforum.net, DR62. So this to us has got like it's a good example of both niche relevant one, and it's got lots from Wikipedia, which are notoriously difficult to get and maintain because Wikipedia is self-policed. So like, you can get a Wikipedia link, but getting it to stick is usually hard and difficult because people will go back and through and filter it out. So the backlink profile is really good. And then
it might be worth zooming in a bit, Adam. I'm just thinking because it's
okay.
It's quite small, I think, probably for a lot of people. So worth zooming in, yeah.
This page here is an interesting one on this website, and the last week with the example we gave was very clean and tidy, i.e. we wouldn't have had to recreate lots of the old content to maintain lots of the old referring domains. This is an example of one that's a little bit messy, and to highlight the point, I've also pulled together the plan of the pieces of content that we would recreate based on this, just to show you like how that would look like and what that plan would kind of entail. So I'm on best pages by links, and I've ordered it highest to lowest referring domains. And we can see here that it's not the home page. Well, the home page combined. So this one and this one and this one is the home page. And if you add up 25 and 45 and 58, the home page still has most of the referring domains pointing back to it. But we've also got lots of these individual pages, which has lots of referring domains too. Now, it's important that you want to try and do something with these. You just don't want to leave them sitting there, because what will end up happening is you end up losing the power of these 67 referring domains. And over time, if some of these domains that are redirected or that are linking to this page will do like a 404 broken link report or something like that, and see that they link into a 404 page, they might remove the link. And over time, it's slow and gradual, but you'll end up losing links. So in this case, we've got lots of links to individual bird kind of like profiles. This was a page talking all about golden eagles, and this was a page talking about imperial eagles, Spanish imperial eagles, and eastern imperial eagles. So what I did, I exported this page, and I also exported this page, which is basically all of the organic keywords that the site used to rank for in 2018. And then I ordered it, this page, this export, highest to lowest search volume. And then I removed all the duplicates. We've basically got one keyword for each URL that used to rank based off the highest search volume, and any pages that has a decent amount of links pointing them are combined into one report. And that basically looks like this. So these are all of the pieces of content that we would need to recreate for this website. So, we've got a page on common buzzards, got a page on golden eagles, not the 007 game, a page on northern goshawks, and also these are the keywords that the site used to rank for. So there's some pretty high search volume, some pretty low keyword difficulty as well. So it's good to recreate this for two reasons. One is it could drive lots of traffic, and two, you maintain the relevance of the old website while also maintaining all those referring domains that point to these individual posts. So lots of these essentially will be pieces of content that talk about honey buzzard. So what is a honey buzzard? What does it look like? Where is it from? What's its prey? That kind of thing, almost like an in-depth profile on a honey buzzard, essentially. So this is basically will take up the first 44 pieces of content that we would need to create for this website. And then the other thing that we look at is basically we just want to have a look back when the site used to rank. So in 2018, like what were the pages? Like what pages did used to rank? So black kites. And I think, in fact, we can actually see in here, when I talked about that they did the site redesign, I actually can see the difference in sites in URL structure. So if we have a look at the pages from 2018, if we look here, it had the category in the URL structure. So it was /raptors, /raptors, /raptors. But if we look forward to when I exported the keywords from 2020, they don't have that /raptors in here anymore. They basically changed the permalink structure when they did the site redesign, it looks like. And that's probably the reason that the site dropped off, because essentially Google was saying, hold on, you've got duplicate content on two different URLs. And then it came back because it figured out that the old post was no longer there and this was the new post. So that's, yeah, I only just seen that as we look through here. But the thing we look for in here basically is there anything dodgy in here? Did the website used to have pages that indicate it had been spammed, or it had been used for anything dodgy? And the answer is no. The other thing to notice in here that there are pages like this, for example, which has interviews, and they interview with a specific person. I've removed those from this list because we can't recreate an interview type piece of content on here for the new website. Plus, I think recreating 44 of them, and getting most of those links and maintaining lots of the relevance is enough. We don't have to worry about doing them all. So I got rid of anything to do with like interviews or anything like that too. And same again, just looked at what the keywords that the site used to rank for, and does sense check. It doesn't make sense that it was ranking for these kinds of keywords. And yeah, it's all to do with falcons and birds and that kind of stuff. And going through here several pages to make sure that there's no nefarious keywords that the site used to rank for in here. The other thing that we looked at is the trademark issue, or is any trademark. So I've gone to the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I'm going to do a basic word mark. Oops. And in here, I look for, the first thing we put in is the domain name. So there's no matches for just the domain name. And I take it out without the .com or the .org on the end, and there's no matches here. And then I split up the words, like European Raptors, nothing. Take off raptor, take off the S off the end, so it's a European Raptor, nothing. So in this case, we can be fairly sure of, to have a certain degree of confidence that there's no trademark around European Raptor, European Raptors, without a space, with a .org, or how that looks like. And that's essentially what we look at. And we look at plural and singular. So we're just making sure. And we also look at live and dead. So we want to know if there was one, but is it dead or not? So there's no trademark around that term there. The other thing we look at, and this is just a quick sense check, is we always look in SEMrush at the historic traffic. What you'll notice here is Ahrefs only goes back to like 2015, but in SEMrush it goes back to 2012. So you just get a longer picture of the traffic essentially. And again, we can see it matches up that this was when the site redesign happened, and it looks like they changed the permalink structure. And Google figured out what happened, and then they took the website offline and it dropped off then. So, and also in the backlinks analytics, this just gives you a rough overview. It's not always super accurate, but essentially you can look down here and we can see that the categories of referring domain has wildlife included in there. And then if we have a look at up here, we can also see categories, and we can click 9 more, and we've got wildlife and exotic pets and birds, and what you would expect to see from science or animal related kind of backlinks in there. And then the other thing which to talk about here, I guess, is that's kind of like our overview of the due diligence done on the domain, of what we've looked for and how we've kind of vetted it, and the initial plan of what we would recreate. And then the last part is like, okay, well, great, this is a great start, but what kind of content would you continue, or how would you then build the site on top of this? And we found this example, which is birdadvisors.com. The site's just over a year old, so it looks like it was starting on a fresh domain kind of back in December 2020, and it's grown really quick. So according to Ahrefs, 152,000, according to SEMrush, 250,000 visitors. And if we have a look at the top pages, we can see they've got 350 pieces of content. But the good thing for us is it's the kind of content that's awesome for display ads, and it's quite easy to create this kind of content. So some question-based content. A baby owl sleeping face down is unbelievable. Like, this just looks like they've pulled pictures of baby owls sleeping face down and did some text about it. But the good thing about this, or the nice thing about this, is they've created content that's repeatable, i.e. listicle types of content. So if I open up some of the top pages here, it's 25 birds with red heads. It's a list, and then it's an image and a short write-up of each of the birds. And that's it. It's not complicated content. It doesn't require like deep technical expertise. And I've also done 20 backyard birds in North Carolina, and 28 backyard birds in Texas, 26 birds in California, birds in Ohio. So what we know is we can look at birds in and then state, and we can pull out lots of different keywords. And then they've also done things like yellow birds. So we can look at different colors of birds. They've got black and white birds and yellow birds. So this is the kind of content that's awesome for us. It's great for display ads because it's long, like if you look how long this piece of content is, very long form. That means there's lots of opportunity to place adverts throughout it, and it's fairly easy for us to create. What they are not doing here, which I think we can do a better job of, is there's no FAQ at the bottom, and I don't think there's going to be tons of FAQs or questions about black and white birds, but there's some, so we can make it better. They're not embedding like a YouTube video, which we find helps. And the other thing that they're not doing, which is interesting, they've got this here, which is like a list, but these are not jump links. This is not a table of contents, and they don't have. Oh, they do have a table of contents. So it's interesting. They've got both. I didn't see that they had a table of contents when I was looking at the site earlier. So yeah, I think this is a great example of a website that we could do our tomb raiding methodology on. If you look at their top performing content, like the top 60 pieces of content drive 80% of the traffic. So one of our first port of calls would be looking at what those 60 pieces of content were. Can we create a piece that's similar or better? Can we do 36 black and white birds, or can we do 39 black and white birds, just to make it a little bit better, essentially, and go a little bit better, knowing that we've got a stronger domain, we've got a stronger DR, we've got a better backlink profile, and also our site is 12 years old. It's been around and known for Google for 12 years, whereas this has only been known for just over a year. And that's it. That's my share essentially on the due diligence of the domain and what we would do with it. Yeah, I feel like I've talked for ages now, Mark. Add in or like.
No, that's really good. Yeah, so these are kind of exactly the kind of domains that we look for. Low competition, easy to rank for. And lots of opportunity for nice, easy informational content. So, yep, definitely all over this one. I like this one myself. Again, like this is one that I like the kind of thing that I like to pick up. So, sure, okay. So,
we'll probably say that this is live on the website as well now. So if anybody's interested, then you can go to the website and pick this one up. nichewebsitebuilders.com/domains, or just go to our website and click on domains in the menu.
I foolishly didn't put it into the show notes, which I will do in future, and I'll add it to this one here. But there's the link in the chat as well if you want to take a look. But yeah, that's that. I guess we got our question from that was asked pre-show.
Oh yeah,
we should probably look at
the example of the bad domain. Let me pull up some pages. Fill the gap, Mark. Fill the gap.
So Carroll Shelby is the automaker, right? Or he was a racing driver, wasn't he, at some point?
Yeah, he was famous. They make the
designer.
What car is it?
Shelby.
That is but it's like a version of a car. Like they have like Mercedes AMG, like the AMG. It was like the Shelby version of. Was it? I think it was the Mustang, but they also did. Oh God.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know enough about. Yeah, I don't know enough about it to be fair, but here's this is the guy, right?
Shelby Cobra. That's it. The Shelby Cobra, the AC Cobra.
There you go.
So the really famous car. Tim, who's our horror manager, is obviously watching because he just messaged me on Slack saying it's the Shelby Cobra. Like, yeah, that's it. The AC Cobra, and they're super collectible. Like he won loads of racing events with it, etc. So when somebody sent us a message to say like carolshelby.com is up for auction today, can you have a look at it for us to see like could we use it, or could you do some due diligence on it? I was like, wow, that can't actually be like carolshelby.com, but it turns out it is. However, there are some definite red flags that you should be aware of when you're looking at this. So let me share my screen again and I'll run through some of them. So the first thing to note is put it in Ahrefs DR38. This has a trust flow of 54, so it's really high trust flow. If we look at organic search going back to 2016, like at some point it was getting 5,000 to 10,000 visits per month. And then it went offline, and then you could see here this just had a massive spike up and then a very quick drop off again, which is the interesting talking point about this, because it was offline for like 2 years, and then somebody bought it and did something with it to cause this. So what I'm talking about is I'll pull up a couple of snapshots from way back. So I'll go back to 2020, and then I'll pull up 2003, 2007. And if we have a look, just go back here. So something happened roughly around 2017 through to the beginning of 2019, and then nothing. And then we want to look at 2021 as well. So we'll fast forward a little bit to 2016, the year before like that drop off. Then we have a look in 2017, and then 2018. And then like nothing happened for that year. And then something happened in 2020, sorry, and 2021. So if we open up these as well. So, I mean, this is typical of what a site in 2020 probably would have looked like. Or it might have looked a little bit better because we don't have Flash anymore, but the waving flags and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a website about Cobra essentially and Shelby, and it looks like it had a shop attached to it as well. It talks about the museum, so it looks like a genuine site, and you can click enter the site and have a little look around. This looks like the home page, which is typical back then. You'd usually have an enter now kind of button. And then we go to 2003, and design has been updated a bit, but again, still has like enter now. Interestingly, AOL users click here as a throwback. Still the same in 2007. And then 2016, this is more of what you would expect a website from 2016 to look like. And it looks like it talks about the history of him and who he was, set 16 US international speed records, etc. 2017 and then 2018. So it doesn't look like anything really happened from 2016 back here through to 2017-18 to cause this drop off in traffic. So that's a bit, I don't quite know what happened there without digging further. But if we then fast forward to 2020, which is when it came back online, it went offline and came back online, somebody's clearly bought this and repurposed it. This is definitely not the same website as this. And we can tell that just quickly looking by the content. It talks a little bit about Carroll Shelby, the history and the cars and stuff. But if you go down, then it also has chili mixes reviews, car air fresheners, and I'm sure Carroll Shelby didn't wake up one day and think, I use my domain to review air fresheners for cars. So clearly another affiliate marketer has got hold of this domain in 2020 and has built an affiliate website. They've tried their best to try and maintain some of the relevance by having these couple of posts about Carroll Shelby, but essentially it looks like they've just gone out and they've created a whole ton of just best of pieces of content. And if we look at 2021, like they've just continued to add more. So car ashtrays, car speakers, audio batteries, car dusters. The thing to notice on here as well is that there's no informational content. It's literally just full of best of guides. And if you match up this drop off here in April, this was when Google did the update, which was basically looks like, and I'm not saying it's cause and effect, but looks like it targeted websites that were heavily commercial content versus a balance between informational and commercial. So it looks like they repurposed it. It did well for a couple of months, and then a Google update happened, dropped off a cliff. It looks like they forgot about the site. They didn't really do any updates between these times here, and then they just let it expire. It's probably not worth anything, even as an affiliate website back in March when it's getting just probably 100 visits per month. So and we can see in here the organic keywords. It's still ranking for certain stuff, best wax spray for black cars and best all-terrain tires and stuff like that. The only problem is once the site's been hit by a Google update, you can go back in and you can add a ton more informational content if you want, but there's no guarantee that it's gonna come back. In essence, should you buy this domain on these merits? Probably not, because another affiliate marketers had their hands on it. You don't know what else they did. You don't know if they built any PBNs that you can't see in Ahrefs or anything when they are when they had this site for 2 years, you just don't know, and it's one of the red flags. And if you have one red flag, then you just skip it, basically. So that's the one red flag. And then the other one is trademarks. Like, as you would expect, the same search I did for the European Raptor, I search for the domain name first of all, nothing comes up. I just search for Carol Shelby, nothing comes up. And I search for it with a gap in there, and now we have a kind of trademarks. So, and lots of them are live. So you've got CS Carol Shelby Racing, just Carol Shelby. So there's tons of live trademark issues on here, which again, even if an affiliate marketer hadn't had the website and made an affiliate website on it, it would still be a no-no, because there's all these live trademarks. And if I just pull this in, it looks like the auction ends in 4 hours. It also looks a little bit fishy because there's only one bid on there and it's 5,000. So I don't know if the person, I don't know if the person who made this affiliate site is somehow trying to push up the price by like ghost bidding or something. But either way, it just doesn't look right. Like, the first bid would never be 5,000 unless there was a reserve or something like that. And yeah, all around there are several different like red flags. Yeah, you just want to avoid, basically.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That's that was a good question. So that's a good example of a really strong domain to avoid.
Yeah. If you looked at it just on the pure metrics, which is what we went back to earlier, on pure metrics, it's a great domain on paper. It looks awesome until you start digging under the surface.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you want to unshare your screen and we'll kind of wrap it up? So, I think one thing is that, so I think in terms of the giveaway, we're not there. We're at 14 likes.
14.
So we've got 11 more likes to get in the next 2 minutes. Otherwise, there's no giveaway today. But we'll do double the giveaways for when we do get it next time. So we managed to get it on the Website Investing Show pretty comfortably. I guess these guys on the Age Domain Show, not so many. And so we'll see. But please go ahead and subscribe to the show so that we kind of get more opportunity to do shows like this. If you do like it, then it kind of gets the word out, and hopefully we can start spreading the word about the streams that we're doing.
Also, as well, I think Carol Shelby question was great because it gave us something good to talk about at the end as well. So if you see anything interesting, or if you want us to review a domain live like next week, then either send us a message on Facebook or email us. Or if you're on our newsletter list every week now, you get a what's coming up, and you can submit questions. There's a link to submit questions for each of the streams in there. So send over questions before time, or even if you're watching live next time, just put them in the chat. Like, we don't mind doing that kind of stuff and reviewing domains. I think it's interesting. Each one has their own unique story. Even after doing it for years, I still love like looking through domains and their history and past. And I think one of the upcoming shows is we're gonna talk about some of the interesting domains that I've kept track of over the last year or two, where we've seen them come up for sale and we didn't get them, but they've got an interesting story of what people have been using them for since.
Yeah, so I think that's the so next week we got we're gonna do a case study of an Age domain that a customer of ours, that the site built on an Age domain, and we took it from 0 to 3.3 million page views in 13 months. So it's a pretty decent result for that customer, and we'll be able to share some of the stuff that we did for that customer. And then the week after is when we're going to kind of review some of the Age domains that we've been keeping an eye on and seeing what happened to them, which would be quite a fun one, quite a funny one. But yeah, other than that, we've also got another live stream tomorrow, which is the Niche Lifestyle Show, which we do with Alex Cooper from WP Eagle and Doug Cunnington. This week it's on the Doug Cunnington's channel, so we rotate the channels. It switches between WP Eagle, Doug Cunnington, and our channel. Next week, or this week, should I say, tomorrow, it's on Doug Cunnington's channel. So you should be able to you won't be able to pick that up from our site, but head over to Doug Cunnington's channel, subscribe so you don't miss that. And then on Thursday, we have the website investing show, in which we are covering a topic that I cannot remember what it is that we're covering.
I can't remember either.
We are covering, hang on, give me a few seconds. We are covering what you need to know about buying and selling websites online is what we're doing.
Yes.
So another reason to, you can, we'll head over to there. You can kind of register and get a reminder nearest the time when it's going to start. But otherwise, I think that's about it. I think we can kind of wrap it up there.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everybody. Catch you soon.
Cheers, Mark.